Coach, first off, congratulations on the sectional championship and getting ready to play for a regional. Fortunately for you guys, you get it at home this weekend. But before we get into that, I want to talk about the sectional championship win and even what took place before the sectional championship win. What took place on the ride up there? Something about a shattered windshield on the bus? What happened?
Well, gentlemen, thanks for having us. Appreciate being on the show, and thanks for the congrats as well. We were on the way up to Bedford, and I think we hit a hawk. All I know is I was looking over my play sheets, heard a big loud thud, looked up, and the driver's side window was shattered, which was interesting. That's a first. So I said thought it was he saw a blur, and it looked like it was a bird of some kind. There was some kind of animal. I'm going to assume it was a bird flying across, but it was a big bird at that, because there was quite a mess all over the bus. But that and some chocolate chip muffin or something that the bird might have been trying to eat. But we had a little bit of an ordeal. I had to pull over, and luckily we got to Bedford on time. But they brought a new bus after the game, so it's always entertaining when you take to the road.
How early on in the trip did that take place?
It was pretty late. We were, I think we were in Lagodi when that happened. Okay. So we were quite a ways down the road. We weren't too far away from Bedford, but like I said, it was a little bit of an ordeal anyway.
Well, you guys ended up making it to Bedford, obviously. You got a big win. Were able to put up quite a few points on them. You guys led 28-0 after the first quarter, expanded that to 35-0 at one point in that game. Tell us what it sounds to me like pretty much everything was just clicking for you guys. Is that how it went, or was there some things that obviously you could still work on as you get ready for the regional championship Friday night?
Well, obviously, I think you can always get better, and that's the thing. We've got several areas to improve on and have been a work in progress all year. One thing that can be said is I think we're playing our best football right now, and it's been a constant improvement all year long, which is what we had to have. We're playing a lot of young players, some veterans in a lot of spots, but also some rookies too. And so at this point in the year, they're veterans, but certainly we've got to continue to improve on the offensive line. I think the run game maybe took a step back this past week. Obviously, Dane and the receiving core were on, made some big plays, but at the same time, you look at a team like Bloomington South, and they're going to make you sustain some drives. They're not going to give you the easy play. And, it's great when you're, one play over the head for 92 yards or, another big play, for 80 yards and those kind of things, which, as an offensive coach, you never want to knock that. But at some point, you also have to be able to execute, put together drives. Good teams are going to take away the deep ball and those kind of things. And so we have to establish some kind of a running game early. And I think, quick throws, some play action and those types of things that we do, within our offense. But again, Jeff Bennett, our offensive coordinator, is really good at finding real estate, and he always says there's real estate to be had. It's up to the offensive coaches to find out where it is and take advantage of what the defense is giving you. So plenty of areas to improve. I thought our defense played well. We gave up some yards, but it was a kind of a bend but don't break deal. And they put the ball on the ground 6 times, which you really don't have a chance to win when you do that. Bloomington South is a very well coached football team, very disciplined. Would not anticipate anything near that out of them. And so, it's going to be a really different type of ball game for us in terms of those things. So we got some gifts, no doubt about it. We blocked 2 punts, which one went back for a touchdown. Again, those are things that we wouldn't expect to see out of Bloomington South. And so clearly we want to force turnovers and we want to work on our special teams and things, but our offense is going to have to execute and defense is going to have to play well down and down out.
We're talking with Castle Knight head football coach Doug Hurt joining us on the Menard Studio Hotline. It's Ford and O'Brien on ESPN Evansville 105.3 online, ESPNEvansville.com. Coach, you rattled off 3 straight since there's no other way to put it. You let one get away against Harrison in Week 7, but since then you've won 3 straight. What did you and your coaching staff say to the kids after that game? Because, they can put all the cliches they want on it, but that stung, I'm sure.
Oh, there's no question about it. And I think, maybe that was a catalyst for us because I think, all too often players can read their accolades and things like that. And I think, to have an eye-opener like that and see what can happen when you don't do things the right way. And really what was a defensive implosion in offense, we were down to our fourth running back and really couldn't generate any offense, maybe got a little too conservative, in hindsight. I think it was an eye-opener, and the kids had to realize at this point, hey, if we don't improve, on the fundamentals and the little things, we're not going to win anything. And so I really think it was an eye-opener for us, and I think they came back with renewed focus, so on and so forth. And after that win, or after that loss, our approach in practice changed dramatically, and we really started to make our greatest improvement of the year from that point on. And certainly you can take at the win-loss record of the opponents there on out and say, well, obviously that has something to do with it. But I think a lot of it's been intrinsic too in what we're doing. So hopefully a combination of both and getting a little bit better each week and be in position to play well this weekend.
Well, you get your first sectional title since 2012. Keller throws 5 more touchdowns. It's almost like if we look in the Courier and Press, and if we don't see Keller for at least 4, then he must have set out 3 quarters or something, because, he just lights it up. And Alex Guerin, Noah McClain, those are a couple of names that really come to the forefront at wide receiver. But the first thing that kind of crossed my mind was the last sectional you won in 2012, Mitch Gillis, Cam Paris, John Mark Anderson. You were really solid 2-3 straight years with those guys. Do you see similarities as a coach? Because obviously you coached both triplets, and it's everybody wants to talk the big 3 and everything else. Do you see similarities with those 3 from 2012 to Keller, Guerin, and McClain here in 2015?
I think you could draw some similarities. I think certainly, Dane is putting us in position to win and doing some things very, very well. There's never a direct comparison. I think Noah McClain would hold his own with that receiving core, but you're probably never going to have another John Mark Anderson and Cameron Paris on the outside as far as your 2 outside receivers, and then you factor in Joe Redburn in the slot. That was a very solid group, but certainly I'd say some similarities. Alex in a lot of ways reminds me of Joe, but Noah McClain is kind of a hybrid maybe between John Mark, a blend of the speed and Cam's height and leaping ability. But certainly we're better on offense when we've got guys on the outside and we've got a quarterback who can get them the ball. Our run game is probably not quite what it was back in those days. I think we had 1,000-yard backs in each of those years. Certainly in 12, a combination of guys rushing for over 1,000 yards in 11, which we do in Higginson this year as well. But our offensive line has struggled a little bit, and we're working each week to get better up front. There's some similarities, but maybe a little, some key differences as well.
Talking to Castle Knights head coach Doug Hurt. It's the Menard Studio Hotline on Ford and O'Brien, ESPN Evansville 1053, and online, ESPNEvansville.com. Class 5A sectional champion getting ready to take on Bloomington South at home Friday night under the lights. They're in Paradise, Indiana, as they said. And you made some comments earlier, Coach, in what you guys needed to do in order to get a win and advance to the semi-state. You obviously have had the opportunity to see some film on these guys as you've gotten, studies and getting ready for the game on Friday night. We don't know a ton about Bloomington South. What have you seen on film? You mentioned that they were very well coached and very disciplined, but as far as maybe a couple of names on the offensive and defensive side for Bloomington South that concerns you and something you're going to have to keep an eye on Friday night in order to get out of there with a win?
Well, I think, we've played some really good teams in the SIC between Rice and Mater Dei, kind of leading the pack, and we opened with Terre Haute North, which at that time, before injury set in for them, they were playing really well. So I think they're probably in that kind of league of play, but I would also say that they're probably the best team that we've played to this point. If you look at their record, who they played, mostly 5 and 6A schools on their schedule, the Sagarin ratings, 11-0. Mo Moriarty does a great job. And, if you look at their defense, they're kind of mirror images of each other. No guys like we used to play with Center Grove when we advanced in the regional, that were 6'5", 300 pounds, and you seemed like ran a 4.1. But all guys in that 6'1", 215 range, they fly around the field. They're very disciplined on defense. They're a 3-4 defense, multiple coverages, and they get around the field. They know exactly what they're supposed to do. One of my old Indiana State offensive line teammates, Gabe Johnson, is their defensive coordinator, does a tremendous job with their defense. Offensively, they're a lot like us. I mean, they're built very similar, a lot of inside and outside zone running scheme. They want to run the football, but also they have a sophomore quarterback that can put the ball on the money, and an outside receiver, big number one, that is a burner. So he's their big play guy on the outside that we have to try to find a way to shut down. And so you're kind of in a little bit of a conundrum, a little bit of a bind, because they want to run the football and we want to be able to stop the run, but at the same time they'll lull you to sleep with the running game, and then they'll take shots over your head, which makes it difficult for a defensive coordinator to find, try to figure out what you want to take away. So they present a lot of problems. They're big up front with their offensive line, and they've got 2 speedy backs, number 5 and number 21, in the backfield that can really get after it, probably speed like we haven't seen this year. And so, it's a tall order, but I think if we play fundamentally and schematically sound, we've got a real shot.
That's Castle Knights head coach Doug Hurt getting ready for Bloomington South to come down to our neck of the woods here in Paradise, Indiana, the outer edges there of Newburgh. Coach, appreciate the time. Best of luck Friday night, and hopefully we can talk again next week as you guys get ready to play for a semi-state.
Well, I sure hope so. That would be fantastic, and I think our players are ready to go. Our coaches have been working, as hard as they've ever worked to try to get a game plan ready to go, and, appreciate you guys having us on and all the support, and we'll see you hopefully next week.